I first saw that saying downstairs in my grandfather's basement on the side wall of an area to where he used to have all of his radios. Back in the day, there was a form of communication that some people would have in their personal homes, and truck drivers would have this. It was called CBs. My granddad had a CB area to where he would talk on the radio with people who were driving trucks, people from other homes, and pretty much abroad. I asked him, I said, I was 13. I said, Granddad, what does that mean? To never judge a man until you walk 7 days in his moccasins. I said, what are moccasins? He said, that's what our ancestors, the Indians, used to call shoes. He said, and what he's saying, because my granddad used to always call the elders of the natives grandfather. He said, what grandfather is saying is that you don't say that you know a person until you've walked 7 days in their shoes. He said, what do you notice about that? I told him, even at the age of 13, it says, I said, what I've noticed, it says in his shoes. He said, right. He said, that's the point. He said, what it is, people who walk beside you, these people who assert that they support what you're going through. However, these people think that they actually know and understand you, even though they are not walking directly within the shoes and therefore the reality of what you're going through. They feel as though simply because they were walking beside you and this whole I support you garbage actually has merit. But unless you are walking inside of someone's reality, you will never understand exactly what that reality feels like, how it affects them as a human being, their thinking and their feelings and all of that. All you are is someone walking next to them and observing what they're going through. And you're the last person that needs to try to come to a conclusion of what is wrong with this person, because you've been walking beside them for a very long time. Have you seen everything that they've been through? And even though they've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, the majority of their lives, the path that they're walking on, that straight path, they remained on it. They remained on it. However, they don't get any. Those are the type of things people choose not to see. So you really don't get credit for that, regardless of what you go through. And so these are the people that will quickly draw these fabricated conclusions of you and say, you're this type of person and you need to be healed, and there's some things you need some counseling. There's not a human being on this earth that is not healing from something. We're all healing. Healed, that implies a human being that has overcome a situation that no longer permits them to act or think in a certain way. But healing Most human beings, I would have to say 95% of the human beings on this planet are in the process of healing from something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are violent or disoriented or anything like that. The whole thing is, your support means absolutely nothing to them. Oh, I support you. That means absolutely nothing, because it's them. They are the ones that are on this path. They're experiencing it. They're feeling it. It's their path. It's their shoes. It's not yours. You're just standing next to them. But you're walking in your shoes. And what you fail to understand is that you were blessed to walk beside someone that are moving forward, that are going through a lot of trials in their life, and they're suffering through these trials. They are, because those are their moccasins, not yours. So the Creator puts them through those trials for the sake of learning. And you were blessed to walk next to them, to observe what they're going through for the sake of your learning, and also for the sake of you not having to go through what this person is currently going through and what this person is currently suffering. However, in spite of all of the disappointments that you see this person go through, whether it's their parents, their friends, they're growing up, he comes in contact with a lot of celebrities. They promise you certain things. Those things don't fall through. You know, they open up certain doors for you and say that they're going to help you in this particular area. They get you all interested and excited that these things are getting ready to manifest, and you feel good about it because your heart is in the right place. And so you know that when these opportunities come about, due to the fact that your heart is in the right place, you're going to become more blessed, because once these opportunities manifest, you're going to be executing those things for the sake of good and not for the sake of evil. And then when those doors all of a sudden close, like when you call somebody like a Spike Lee, and he tells you after he's promised you a lot of opportunities in order to get your writing going, and all of a sudden, yo man, I'm in the middle of something, and he just hangs up the phone, and that's it. And so you're supposed to accept that. You're supposed to say, well, I deserve that. No, you don't deserve that. And that's exactly where the feeling of betrayal comes from. But you have to live with that because you don't have a choice. And due to the fact that you don't have a choice, that puts you in the position to where you become one who learns the power of acceptance. And as you go on, due to the fact that you learn the power of accepting things as they are and not what you wish them to be, it puts a power inside of you to where you know that nothing is permanent. And those so-called possibilities are possible at times, because sometimes things don't fall through. Sometimes you have people who open up doors of opportunity for you to help them write an autobiography about their lives, and some other actor comes in who has more notoriety than you because you're just a plain person. And so he comes into the atmosphere to push his name in the ears of a very famous comedian to convince him that he's better equipped to help him write his autobiography. And he's using his celebrity status and notoriety to push in the situation for the sake of pushing you out. And all of a sudden everything stops. So that's another opportunity. that you missed as a struggling upcoming writer. And as time goes on, something happens, and this same celebrity is brought before you in terms of how you feel about a certain thing. I could care less how this man feels about Michael Jackson. I don't care. This man betrayed me. I don't care. Now, a lot of you may not know what I'm talking about, but the whole thing is, people will judge and condemn you and have never walked inside of your reality. They've only walked next to you, but not within your reality. That's your reality. Those are your shoes. And they couldn't walk in your shoes for one day if they could. Because there are times of where you're going through something and they call themselves supporting you through it. And due to your honest expression of how things hurt you and humiliate you, and you're still going through this, even though it's hurting, it's still a learning process for you both. The one who support you all of a sudden stops because it's too overwhelming. It's too overwhelming for them. But of course, when they stop and they go to the side, you're still moving forward. And therefore, whatever you're learning, they're no longer learning because they're not walking next to you. And see, they're only going to learn to a certain point because they're not in your moccasins. They're walking next to you, but they're not walking in your shoes. However, the people who are walking next to you swear up and down that they know you in totality enough to criticize you and say, well, you need help and you don't come across with me like that. And who the fuck are you that I can't express myself honestly? Oh, well, you need this, you need that. Yeah, and you need to get productive. How about that? The whole thing is, when you think you know somebody, that's a mistake, because you think you know them, but you really don't know them. You don't know them at all. You just think you do. But you will never know them more than they know themselves, because they went through it. You were just standing on the side watching them go through it. But you're quick to judge them. And then when they tell you the reason why they're coming across a certain way is because of all of the disappointment that they're feeling because of this particular person that was brought forth. And you tell them you've learned another form of life and death because you have to die to those disappointments and you have to move on. No, that's not enough for them. I understand what you're saying, but I don't like the way you come across. Now, this is somebody who's seen you go through hell, and you've shared the majority of your life experiences with them from your parents, through your family being destroyed, through failed relationships, through homelessness, through all types of things. But all at the same time, you're not human, so none of those things are supposed to affect you in any shape, form, or fashion. You're supposed to be normal. Even though so many abnormal things that has happened to you and therefore has affected you and shaped you into a person who has not had time to heal in a whole lot of areas. And so he's carrying a whole lot of pain. I'm talking about myself. He's carrying around a lot of pain that he's struggling to heal from as he moves forward. It's not good enough. You came across a certain way that offends me. And so you're wrong. And so when he points out to you that I think it's you because I think that you become overly sensitive and you think that you're entitled to a person's communication towards you. What makes you think that you're so entitled? That someone should communicate with you in a certain way. Well, I've never came across at you like that. That's because you haven't walked in the man's shoes. You've only walked beside him, but you haven't walked in his shoes. So he's affected in a certain way. You will never understand him because you haven't been through exactly what he's going through. You just think you understand him, and your thoughts are wrong. Your thoughts and your conclusions are wrong. And when he tries to explain it to you, oh, you're gaslighting. And what makes you think after everything that this man has been through, he has time to go back and forth with you? I'm not going back and forth with nobody, bro. I know this may seem like an odd video to whoever's observing this, but I'm not mentioning who I'm referring to because I still love him. He's still my brother. He's going to be my brother until I'm dead and gone. But the whole thing is, until someone has been through what you've been through, I'm not saying what you've been through, similar. A person that's always comparing themselves to you, you can't compare yourself to me. Comparisons are inaccurate until you've gone through exactly what this person is going through. And when things affect him in a certain way, and when the Creator gives this man the type of mind to where he notices that there's something that has been imbued inside of him from a bad experience that he doesn't want there, that he recognizes not going to help him, he has to take time to die to those certain things. And sometimes it takes a long time to die to certain things, like what I went through in Georgia when I was betrayed by both my parents. You know, my whole life has been a life of betrayal and turmoil. And then you are, this person is walking beside you and they see all of these things happening. But they never question themselves. If I was him, how would that affect me? Would I be as him or would I be different? And even that is bad. And even that's not good because you're still comparing yourself. Well, I would have not let it affect me that way. How do you know? You're only speaking from your vantage point. But your vantage point means absolutely nothing because you're not walking in his moccasins, but you're judging him as though you had those moccasins on right along with him. But you didn't. In a whole lot of instances, you wouldn't be able to last 2 days in his world. Like Brother Mike Tyson told that reporter, you wouldn't be able to last 2 days in my world. But they want to judge and condemn you. They want to say you're gaslighting. They want to say those things. The best thing for you to do is just totally cut that person off because they are no different than the people who abused you. They're no different. It's very revealing. They're no different. And this person had walked next to you and has been watching your life and been learning through what you've learned. They've seen that pretty much everyone in your life have betrayed you. And yet and still, what they were looking at and what they were listening to, they heard you, but they wasn't listening. They was looking, but they wasn't observing. They wasn't listening to you, and they wasn't observing you. They wasn't learning. They were constantly going through a comparison thing with you, and in the same time looking at you as an example of, I don't want to be like that. Well, if that's the way you feel, you need to move on. And if this person has gone through so much, what makes you think that a lot of times that their responses are going to be to your pleasing? You don't know them. You don't know how things have affected them, but you're comparing yourself to them. That's why you get offended. Well, I wouldn't do you like that. I wouldn't come across like that. Condemnation. I'm better than you. People like that, cut them off. I don't care who they are to you. This is why I tell people I have no attachments. I can cut anybody off. But in conclusion, simply because someone says that they support you, what you're going through, don't ever think that they understand you totally, because they are not going through it with you in totality, because they're not in the same shoes that you're walking in. And simply because they fall in for this illusional thing. You know how people say, I support your writing. Oh, you have my support. What the hell you mean? I have your support. I'm the one that's writing these books. I'm the one that's putting in the word, the work. I'm the one that's doing this. And therefore, I'm the one that's going through all of these things. You're just standing on the sideline watching me go through it. And you're not learning completely, clearly, because while you're observing, you're steady comparing yourself to this person during their suffering. That's why when it gets to a certain point, you have to stop. This is becoming too much for me, because they're going through something that if you were in their shoes, you would not be able to withstand it. That's why you have to stand off to the side while they're moving forward, going through it, getting those lessons. And then when they call you back and tell you what they've learned, and you notice that what they've learned is a bit profound to you, all of a sudden you back on board. Now you running up next to them. Now they have your so-called support again. So you're catching up with this person to try to accumulate the information that they've learned when you walked away from them and you let them walk forward by themselves. Because you were in this state of mind to where everything that they were going through, you were in a state of comparison yourself to them. And you really didn't have a choice, because you're not them. And so you're unable to walk in their shoes. You can't do it. You have your shoes to walk in, and he has his to walk in. But don't ever assert that a human being who has gone through a lot of abnormality in his life in reference to what is common today, like good relationships with his family and developing his own family, coming in contact with celebrities that promise you things, and you're in the area of celebrity and film because you're a writer, and you get cut off all of a sudden by Joey Lee without any explanation, and you saw her as your intellectual companion, and all of a sudden you just cut off. The same as somebody, you're trying to call to get an update after somebody had encouraged you that they was going to look out for you. You call them and they pick up the phone and they say, yo man, I'm busy right now, and just hang up the phone. And that's the last time you've heard from them. And when you tried to call them back, to ask them, like, what the hell is your problem? Just because you are a celebrity, it doesn't imply that you have the right to disrespect me. Because I have good intentions toward you. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I actually can help you. And when you know that you have something good to offer people, and at once state they open up the door for you, and you think that you're able to walk through that door and share their opportunities with them, and at the same time make their status even better, and you are going in harmony with this person, and you're making each other better, and all of a sudden, just through a simple phone call, gone. I'm busy right now. Just hang the phone up. You look around, your parents ain't worth a damn. Friends ain't worth a damn. Your personal family blows up in your face. You're always being lied on. Your youngest son turns against you for no reason, simply because of the lies of his mother. And you think you understand that type of person in totality, to where you think that in comparison, if I went through that, I wouldn't be this. If I went through that, I wouldn't be this way. How do you know? You've never been through it. You've never been in his shoes. You've only walked next to him and observed what he's been through. But until you're in those shoes, you don't know what it means to go through what he's going through. You can only say, well, I can imagine how you feel. Right. You can only imagine, and your imagination don't mean shit. He's the one dealing with the reality of what he's going through. He doesn't have to imagine anything, because reality is right there. And you know what he's doing? He's going through it. And he's not compromising his moral standards. He's not out killing nobody. He's not out selling drugs or doing crimes. He even went through a time of thoughts of suicide. Okay? And he battled that demon within himself, and he became successful. That's why he's able to sit here before you and make this video. I've been through it. It means I entered a state of darkness, to where, because of everything that I was suffering, in effect, it made me think of taking my own life. But the reason why I went through it is because I chose to love myself through it, till I came out on the other side, and I'm able to do this. So to think that you know somebody simply because you're in this state of comparing yourself with this person, you're going to find yourself being cut off by that person, because they don't need it. You can't compare yourself to a person that's going through something that is real, and you're just on the outside observing and learning, always trying to compare yourself to this person, because you would never go through what they've been through. You were just blessed to walk beside them and learn the lessons that the Creator was teaching them, but you never had to go through it. You don't know when you're blessed, and that's what the problem is. People will judge and condemn you and have never walked inside of your reality. They've only walked next to you, but not within your reality. That's your reality. Those are your shoes. And they couldn't walk in your shoes for one day if they could. Because there are times of where you're going through something and they call themselves supporting you through it. And due to your honest expression of how things hurt you and humiliate you, and you're still going through this, even though it's hurting, it's still a learning process for you both. The one who support you all of a sudden stops because it's too overwhelming. It's too overwhelming for them. But of course, when they stop and they go to the side, you're still moving forward. And therefore, whatever you're learning, they're no longer learning because they're not walking next to you. And see, they're only going to learn to a certain point because they're not in your moccasins. They're walking next to you, but they're not walking in your shoes. However, the people who are walking next to you swear up and down that they know you in totality enough to criticize you and say, well, you need help and you don't come across with me like that. And who the fuck are you that I can't express myself honestly? Oh, well, you need this, you need that. Yeah, and you need to get productive. How about that? The whole thing is, when you think you know somebody, that's a mistake because you think you know them, but you really don't know them. You don't know them at all. You just think you do. But you will never know them more than they know themselves because they went through it. You were just standing on the side watching them go through it. But you're quick to judge them. And then when they tell you the reason why they're coming across a certain way is because of all of the disappointment that they're feeling because of this particular person that was brought forth. And you tell them you've learned another form of life and death because you have to die to those disappointments and you have to move on. No, that's not enough for them. I understand what you're saying, but I don't like the way you come across. Now, this is somebody who's seen you go through hell, and you've shared the majority of your life experiences with them from your parents, through your family being destroyed, through failed relationships, through homelessness, through all types of things. But all at the same time, you're not human, so none of those things are supposed to affect you in any shape, form, or fashion. You're supposed to be normal. Even though so many abnormal things that has happened to you and therefore has affected you and shaped you into a person who has not had time to heal in a whole lot of areas. And so he's carrying a whole lot of pain. I'm talking about myself. He's carrying around a lot of pain that he's struggling to heal from as he moves forward. It's not good enough. You came across a certain way that offends me. And so you're wrong. And so when he points out to you that I think it's you because I think that you become overly sensitive and you think that you're entitled to a person's communication towards you. What makes you think that you're so entitled? That someone should communicate with you in a certain way. Well, I've never came across at you like that. That's because you haven't walked in the man's shoes. You've only walked beside him, but you haven't walked in his shoes. So he's affected in a certain way. You will never understand him because you haven't been through exactly what he's going through. You just think you understand him, and your thoughts are wrong. Your thoughts and your conclusions are wrong. And when he tries to explain it to you, oh, you're gaslighting. And what makes you think after everything that this man has been through, he has time to go back and forth with you? I'm not going back and forth with nobody, bro. Until someone has been through what you've been through, I'm not saying what you've been through, similar. A person that's always comparing themselves to you, you can't compare yourself to me. Comparisons are inaccurate until you've gone through exactly what this person has gone through. And when things affect him in a certain way, and when the Creator gives this man the type of mind to where he notices that there's something that has been imbued inside of him from a bad experience that he doesn't want there, that he recognizes not going to help him, he has to take time to die to those certain things. And sometimes it takes a long time to die to certain things. Like what I went through in Georgia, when I was betrayed by both my parents. You know, my whole life has been a life of betrayal and turmoil. And then you are, this person's walking beside you, and they see all of these things happening. But they never question themselves. If I was him, how would that affect me? Would I be as him, or would I be different? And even that is bad. And even that's not good, because you're still comparing yourself. Well, I would have not let it affect me that way. How do you know? You're only speaking from your vantage point. But your vantage point means absolutely nothing, because you're not walking in his moccasins, but you're judging him as though you had those moccasins on right along with him. But you didn't. In a whole lot of instances, you wouldn't be able to last 2 days in his world.
Put your mother in a straight jacket, you punk ass white boy. Come here and tell me that if I fuck you in your ass, you punk white boy, you faggot. You can't touch me, you're not man enough. I eat your asshole alive, you bitch. Fuck you, you hoe. Come and say in my face, I'll fuck you ass for everybody. You bitch. Come on, you bitch. You're scared coward. You not man enough to fuck with me. You can't last 2 minutes in my world, bitch. Look at you scared now, you hoe. Scared like a little white pussy. Scared of the real man. I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot.
But they want to judge and condemn you. They want to say you're gaslighting. They want to say those things. The best thing for you to do is just totally cut that person off, because they are no different than the people who abused you. They're no different. It's very revealing. They're no different. And this person had walked next to you and has been watching your life and been learning through what you've learned. They've seen that pretty much everyone in your life have betrayed you. And yet and still, what they were looking at and what they were listening to, they heard you, but they wasn't listening. They was looking, but they wasn't observing. They wasn't listening to you, and they wasn't observing you. They wasn't learning. They were constantly going through a comparison thing with you, and in the same time looking at you as an example of, I don't want to be like that. Well, if that's the way you feel, you need to move on. And I always tell people, and I guess people fail to believe when I say this to them, that I don't have any attachments and that I'm able to let go of anyone. A lot of people find that hard to believe simply because they think that I'm emotionally attached to them. And when I say I have no attachments, that means I have no psychological attachments, I have no emotional attachments, and I have no physical attachments. And my living journey was obviously designed to where I've been shaped and molded in order for I to be created as such. Because, as I said before, I've dealt with a lot of betrayal in my life in areas that are normally very close to the average human being. I've suffered a lot of betrayal. And when you go through betrayal in reference to areas to where betrayal should be perceived as a abomination due to the fact that your life is destined to suffer those things. The Creator does not abandon you. And what is meant by that, the Creator doesn't abandon you in terms of imbuing in you the understanding, the wisdom, the intelligence, and the gift of being able to endure those betrayals to the degree to where you can perceive clarity, to the degree to where you understand the power of acceptance, and therefore you're giving the gift of the strength and the clarity to move ahead. Some people's lives are designed that way, and a lot of us have to embrace those gifts in order for us to be able to move forward. Because if not, holding on to the past and having regrets of the past, and it's going to cause complications because you're not able to respond adequately if you're rooted in the past. And so you have to be able to let go of the past and its effects in order for you to move forward and maintain some type of clarity and therefore a level of peace to the degree that you are still able to function. This is just a follow-up from the video that I made last night about the situation that I had with someone. I had to just totally cut them off. And through the living journey, you cannot go through life, whether it's you go through bad experiences or good experiences, and not be in some way affected by way of the good experiences, like your childhood and the fond memories of Christmas and other things like that. You know, when you used to run around and play with your friends and everyone had a great time. Or when you become a mid-adult or a full adult and you start experience living, and you move forward and you go through the process of learning what it means to be responsible for oneself in order to survive. And once you start walking into your adulthood, from your late teenage years, and once you go into your 20s and you start heading towards your mid 20s, and you start learning that this organism needs to be taken care of, because this organism has demands. It has demands. And after you're encouraged to leave the nest by your parents, and the nest implies the home or the environment of where your parents are responsible for nurturing you to a certain point, to where you grow strength of yourself and you start to function. And then once you learn, and they prepare you intellectually, emotionally, and psychologically, at least they are supposed to, for the world. And once they feel that you're ready, then another level of encouragement is going to increase in them, because they want to see you become a responsible adult after you become 21, which is grown. See, simply because I hear a lot about people always talk about, I'm grown. Grown only means that you're 21. Grown only implies that you are old enough to buy cigarettes and alcohol. Grown doesn't mean anything. Adulthood is what is vital. And the way that you become an adult, which implies time, progress, is learning to be responsible for learning of how to take care of oneself. So basically, while you're in the nest, your parents are trying to educate you, and they want you to be able to intellectually respond to their guidance, so that after you understand exactly what they're saying and their preparation of what they're trying to give you in terms of you becoming a responsible human being, after you respond and you take their information in, and it makes you feel encouraged and secure, then you feel as though you're ready to venture outside of the nest in order so that you can be responsible. So you can respond, says, I get it. And becoming responsible implies that I'm willing to put in action everything that you've told me. So now I'm moving ahead. I'm functioning based upon the information that you gave me. So I responded to your information. And now, due to the fact that I'm executing myself in my life in a state of productivity, I am being responsible, because responsible is action. Being responsible is action. That's how you become an adult. But if you're just a grown person, you're 21, yeah, but you're not being responsible. You're not executing what that means, because you haven't responded to the information that your family gave you, or you might just not have liked the way that they talk to you. You know, and some parents do have that bad, especially us black fathers. The majority of the time, especially from the South, a whole lot of you Southern Negroes don't know how to talk to your children. Because when I was in Atlanta, Georgia, for a year and a half between 2019 to 2020, I'm in my late 50s. And there were men out there who still didn't know how to talk to me. And I'm standing there like, 58, 59 years old, and I'm like, dude, who the hell you think you talking to? You know, I learned a whole lot about Southern men, so I have a whole lot of compassion for younger men coming up in the South under Southern fathers, because my dad was a Southern Negro from Little Rock, Arkansas, and he is something about Southern men. They just do not know how to talk to their offsprings. And me coming up on the South Side of Chicago, up under my great grandmother, and dude, there's certain ways you're gonna have to address me. You know, you don't come at me with that old Southern bullshit thinking you're gonna talk to me, okay? Because my upbringing is different. You come up in the South, I come up in the city, and so we're naturally gonna clash. But the whole thing is being responsible is what's necessary. And then as you go through life, you come upon people who are already in the process of their life journey. And you happen to come to meet these people. You become to know these people. You become to care about these people, and you become to love these people. But in your observation, you're observing them and you're listening to how they interpret life, and you're in a position to where you're the student and this person is a possible teacher, even though he don't refer to himself as a teacher. This is the reason why I say those who are observing them. If you're learning from them, even if they don't verbalize that they're a teacher, if you're learning from them, they're your teachers, even though they don't say they are. However, what is dangerous about observation is being able to observe something or someone and start comparing yourself to that person. You can't compare yourself to another human being. You can't do that. And that's what the video was about last night, when I was saying my moccasins, which in other words shoes, are my world. That's my world, not yours. And just because you are watching me walk doesn't mean that you know my pains and how they affect me. Now, I've been knowing Brother Mike Tyson's going on like 38 years. I've seen him suffer the same thing in his life. You know, people say, oh, Mike is a trip, Mike is this, Mike is that. You don't know what Mike is. Have you ever walked in Mike's shoes? You've just been on the outside observing Mike. And the only reason why people will judge you of a certain thing is because they are, whether they realize it or not, they're comparing themselves to the person that they're observing. But simply because you're observing this person still doesn't imply that you know exactly what it means to walk in their shoes. You don't know what that means. Means, which implies, how do you know how that, you have no idea how that makes them feel, how that makes them think, how it makes them angry, how it makes them sad, how a person is walking around consistently dealing with disappointment and betrayal, and therefore humiliation, because disappointment and betrayal equals humiliation. It puts you in a state of desolation. You feel as though you've been neglected and abandoned. And when you have the Creator walking along with you, all at the same time, the Creator is giving you insight of these same people who are abusing you. And through this insight, When things like this transpire time and time again with these people who are supposed to be the closest people in your world, if it continues to transpire through the years, the Creator is basically telling you, you have no one to depend upon except me. So why don't you just turn to me? Because there's no one you can turn to. No one. And so from that point on, you have no choice but to get to know the Creator and how the Creator is destined to function in your particular life journey. I said no choice. So you're forced to bow down to the Creator and ask why. And then as time goes on, you move ahead and you notice that the Creator has put in you a strong conviction against alcohol, against drugs, against gang violence, against anything that is perceived as immoral and therefore self-destructive to you. No alcohol, no drinking, no drugs, no nothing. And so the Creator has put inside of you a disgust not to go in those directions and to totally condemn those. Therefore, the Creator putting that disgust inside of you is also leaving you no other choice to escape the reality that the Creator is putting you through. Because God has put a disgust inside of you of anything that is self-destructive. And so once you come to understand that, oh, so I see that God put inside of me a hatred for alcohol, a hatred for drugs, a hatred for immorality. And so once you see that and you come to realize that, you actually start liking yourself. You like the human being that God created. And as you move forward, you begin to love yourself tremendously, because you come to understand that the best form of conformance is to be created a non-conformance, to where you only conform to what is right in the sight of God, because you find everything that is not right in the sight of God disgusting and immoral. And so as time goes on, you come to understand that living a life like this, you're not going to have a whole lot of people in your corner. You're not going to have a lot of friends. A lot of people are not going to understand you. And then when the Creator gives you an in-depth wisdom and intelligence, and as you move forward, you observing the world, and you're in the process of always learning. Every day you're learning something. You come to know things that you'd never even read in the book. It's just by way of observation, because the Creator has given you the gift of intelligence that is rooted in divine wisdom in order for you to continue to walk upon that righteous path, because your perception of what is right is your guidance through everything. And this is when the state of humility becomes key. And that prevents you from being a narcissist. That prevents you from judging other people's walks in life. That prevents you from criticizing other people and how life has affected them. Because you understand everyone is a part of the same humanity. And you also come to know within that perception that no matter who we are, everyone has their own moccasins to walk in. Everyone have their own path to walk in. Now, if you are a responsible human being and you know who you are and your purpose on this planet, then you're being responsible. You're functioning as a human being. But if you're a person that find yourself being the majority of the time a non-productive human being, you're going to find yourself observing someone whose life journey seems to be a bit more interesting than the average person's life journey. And so you're going to start observing them. And you're going to start learning from them. And then you're going to start making a mistake. You're going to be comparing yourself to them, and you're going to find yourself telling them and yourself a whole lot, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. You're not the same way because you're not in the same shoes. You may be similar based upon you're agreeing with what this person is saying. See, similarities don't necessarily have to mean that you went through a similar experience than this person who was walking in their reality. It only means that you agree with their perceptions of what transpired in their life journey. You agree with that. So you agree with what they say, and due to the fact that you agree with it, that is also what creates a similarity. And you try to think of other experiences that you went through, even though those experiences could be different. You're still comparing. I understand what you mean because I went through the same thing. You never go through the same thing anyone else goes through. You never go through the same thing. The whole thing is comparison puts you in the position to where you find yourself judging people incorrectly. Because when a person goes through a whole lot of turmoil in their life, that has an effect on their personality. It changes their personality. And the reason why it changes their personality is because they're in the process of healing because they're hurting all at the same time. And they're trying to, in time, get themselves back. But at the same time, they're still in a learning process and they're taking bits and pieces out of what they're learning in order to help accumulate more knowledge of self through the whole trial, which will prepare them for the next trial as they go forward. That's the way that works. But if you're always comparing yourself to other people, that's not very good. You can learn from them, but you'll never be them. And if they're in the middle of a healing process, especially when every time they turn around, it's one blow after the next, all of those blows and all of those effects are going to accumulate on this one human being. And sometimes they don't have enough time to heal from one blow before they get hit by another one. And so they're dealing with all of this stuff on the inside. They're dealing with a whole lot on the inside. But you want to know why? You don't care about that? Because you only care about how this person's coming off on me? It's because you're not walking in their shoes. And so you don't know how this has affected them. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know the conflict that's going on inside of them trying to maintain their peace of mind. And each lesson that you go through in life, you're going to, through every healing, you're going to learn another level of peace of mind due to the fact that the whirlwind is no longer functioning. And after the storm is over and you come to another level of peace of mind, that's something that you heal from. And so now you have to deal with another one. And all of these things are going on inside of you. But the only person that's going to understand that is the people who are walking in those shoes. Everyone else is going to be on the outside talking about put them in a straitjacket. Just like the footage that I had with Brother Mike Tyson. But all at the same time, this is a journalist. So you mean to tell me y'all been following this man since the 80s and you've been documenting his life and you've seen everything that the man has gone through. Everything. And you have the nerve to say put him in a straitjacket? That's very offensive. I understand why the brother exploded. Because you don't know what it takes. You have no idea what it takes or what it took for Brother Mike Tyson to even get to that point after everything that he's been through. But people don't care about what you've been through. In fact, the observers never care about everything that you've been through. In fact, all they care about is what they're currently seeing, which majority of the time they provoke themselves. And then when they provoke it and you become offended, it triggers something inside the human being. And so due to the fact that it triggers an area inside of the human being which hurts, sometimes the way that you react and therefore respond is misunderstood. But the person who doesn't walk in his shoes, the observer is always, well, why you come at me like that? You don't talk to me like that. I'll talk to you any motherfucking way I want to. And when you come across like that, that's coming from pain too. Don't tell me how to react. You don't tell me anything, bro. You don't tell me anything. You've seen what I've been through, just like these journalists saw what Brother Mike Tyson has been through. But they don't care. You don't care. It's all about how you make me feel. Those sensitive bitches. It's all about how you make me feel. I understand and everything, but you didn't have to come across like that. Grow up. That comes from a lack of experience. That response comes from a lack of experience and therefore a lack of productivity in terms of the living journey and your walk in life. That comes from a person who has been in suspension of their life journey for way too long. And you've been observing other people who's been constantly moving forward, trying to get somewhere. That's where that comes from. Even if you had a choice to walk in my moccasins, you wouldn't. However, you feel as though you have the right to judge how things have affected me. Now, I'm not the only person that goes through that. Brother Mike Tyson, he's not the only person that goes through it. A whole lot of us go through it. A whole lot of us so-called eccentrics. We're called eccentrics. And sometimes the way that you become an eccentric or an introvert is before you were an extrovert or a non-eccentric. You went out there and you tried to socialize with the social arena, and you ended up getting burned by people. And so to prevent yourself from being hurt, you go inside and you back off. You become an eccentric, you become odd, you become introvert. And some of us, like myself, we're natural introverts. We don't want to be bothered anyway. And so when you're dealing with a natural introvert, which is a human being who naturally stays to themselves and therefore don't want any attention, and therefore always carry themselves in a manner to where they are non-threatening and they don't intrude on other people's lives because they're introverts. They don't want no drama. They don't want the attention. They don't want the excitement. They just want to be left alone. They just want to live in peace. That's all they do. That's all they want. But when people betray you, who are the closest people in your life, like your parents, your sisters, it hurts you because you live by way of always having good intentions. And when those good intentions are betrayed, and when you look at people like your parents who are supposed to have these divine principles to fulfill as mother and father, and they don't, and they treat you like you the worst criminal in the world, and you look around, you haven't committed any acts. You're 62 years old today, and you still don't have a police record. And never in your life even seen, I don't even know what a jail looks like. And even when I was in boxing, I was such a good boxer because when people would try to brush up against me in the corner, I was always fighting my way out because I don't like being crowded. I don't like being crowded. I need my space on pretty much every level. But you cannot judge a man until you walked 2 moons in his moccasins. In his moccasins, not outside of them, observing what he's going through. How the hell are you going to observe what someone goes through, or even listen to them when they talk about it, and assume that you know exactly how they feel? That's what they're going through. You're only there for the lesson. But due to the fact that sometimes you have to take a break, that implies that you couldn't walk in their shoes if you tried. That's like when Brother Mike Tyson said you couldn't live 2 minutes in my world. Not 2 minutes in my world. But they say put him in a straitjacket. You don't know what this man been through. They say you're gaslighting. You're doing this, you're doing that. And all the information that you've shared with them, they still misperceived that it was still you, the only one that's walking in your shoes. It wasn't them. They misunderstood. When they was listening to you, they actually felt like they was in the same shoes you was walking. That's why they feel like they're entitled to criticize you. But at the same time, they're comparing themselves to you as though they understand that they are outside of your world. If you understand that you are not me, and you're not walking in my shoes, you just observe it. But you want to judge somebody. Who needs it? I know I don't. I tell people all the time, I have no attachments. None whatsoever. I have no attachments. I have no attachments. My family is kind of sideways with me right now because when my mother passed December the 11th, I didn't shed a tear because the woman was evil. She was wicked. Everything is principle to me. Everything. I don't care what it is. If you a parent and you wicked, when you leave here, you're not getting not one tear out of me. Because I don't want wicked people on this planet any goddamn way. Why should I cry for the wicked? I celebrate when the wicked get off this planet. I don't mourn for them. And it doesn't matter who you are. Who is my mother? Who is my brother? Who is my sister? It's about morality and immorality. And I feel this ending inside of me right now. I just wanted to do a little follow-up video on last night, but the whole thing is, be careful who you share your life experiences with. You have to be very careful, because when it all boils down to it, it's only a matter of time before they turn against you. They always will, and it's up to you to either hold on to that fire or stop putting your hand in it. That's just like I tell people all the time. If I come up to you and I have a hot coal on one of them iron clap tweezers thing, and if I put it behind my back and ask you to hold your hand out, and I put this hot coal in your hand and it burns, and you say, "This is hot," that's my fault. But if you choose to hold on to it, that's on you. You have to know when to let people go. You got to let them go. You have to get to the point in your particular life to where you are so interested in moving forward that you don't have any more you have no time for nonsense, because life is sacred. Life is sacred. And the big mistake that we have in our lives is that we think we know how much time we have left. That's the biggest mistake. That's the biggest mistake. It's to think that you know how much time you have left. None of us know how much time we have left. And so when we recognize that something or someone is no longer good for our journey, cut them loose. Because I'm getting ready to go into a beautiful retirement stage in my life to where time it's going to be open for me. You know, like my Uncle Ron said, and Ron O'Neal said in Superfly to his girlfriend, I'm trying to buy me some time, baby. I'm trying to buy me some time, baby. You have no time to waste time, because time is sacred. You have only time to be responsible, productive, growth, and healing. All of those things are in the process of every day. Every day. So, as I said before in the other video, there's not a human being on this planet that is not in the process of healing of something that they went through. Everybody is healing. Ain't nobody on this earth healed, completely healed. You may be completely healed in certain areas, but there's always something that you're going to have to heal from. So there's always a conflict going on with these dual components that we have inside. But the whole thing is understanding that the Creator has given us an intelligence that is rooted in wisdom in every single human being on this earth to guide us through it, that we may function successfully, that we may live a very peaceful and productive life. And with that being said, everyone, please have a good night and stay human.